Stuff that pops up frequently in your favorite comics but never gets truly explained because it's something that was explained forever ago or is explained over the course of multiple crossovers. So let me know in the comments down below things in the DC and Marvel universe that have confused you so that we can explain them further for you. This week we're going to discuss the emotional spectrum and what each Lantern Core does and what they are. Not just the Green Lantern Cores, but there is also a red, orange, yellow, blue, indigo, violet, black, and white core. So let's explain this. In order to understand the Lantern Cores, you will also need to understand the emotional spectrum. Now, we discovered that the power of the Green Lanterns is willpower, and this taps into the emotional spectrum. In total, the emotional spectrum contains red, which is rage, orange, which is greed, yellow, which is fear, blue, that is hope, indigo is compassion, and love is violet. Black and white are also on the spectrum, as black being the lack of any color and white being the combination of all the colors. Now, before we go forward, you need to understand that each of these groups and who their affiliations are. The Green Lanterns are obviously the most famous. I won't go much into their history, as they have a long history of origins and storylines to explain how they got to where they are now.
Now, the Green Lanterns weren't always a core. In fact, during the 1940s, during the Golden Age, they were, in fact, the first person who was a Green Lantern was a man called Alan Scott. And then, by Hal Jordan becoming a Green Lantern during the Silver Age, it then went on to become a core. Now, I have to say, the Green Lanterns are actually the very first lanterns is that they weren't a core until the Silver Age. And the Silver Age and onwards of DC is Earth 1, and Earth 2 is the Golden Age. Until it got all confusing, and then, the Golden Age and Silver Age heroes meet with each other, and then, it rebooted into Black Crisis of Infinite Earths, which was first of 2 reboots of DC. Remember, Earth 1 is Golden Age, and Earth 2 and onwards is the Silver Age, including New 52 and Rebirth. New 52 is the second reboot, and Rebirth is another form of the DC universe. Anyway, let's move on.
But the Green Lantern ring gives the user the ability to fly, have a protective aura, and communicate with other Green Lanterns. And most importantly, it allows them to create hard light constructs. Now, you need to know what those are because almost every other core can also do that. A hard light construct is basically something that the user dreams up, and it becomes a reality. This means that it relies on the creativity of the user, meaning somebody like Kyle Rayner can go ahead and create artistic things and like painting kind of stuff, while someone like John Stewart just creates military-oriented objects and weapons. Now, one of my favorite cores, the Red Lantern Corps, is a group of berserkers run by Atrocitus. The power of the Red Lantern lies in their blood. And upon receiving a ring, their blood is replaced with a corrosive, rage-energized blood. This blood can eat through anything, penetrate other ring users' force fields, and even corrupt other rings.
Now, I have to say, all of the Lantern Cores have their own oaths. You know what an oath is? It's right down there in that video I'm reacting to. Just listen to their oaths and see what each Lantern Corps represents. Now, I'm not going to tell you all the oaths right here. I will do that somewhere after this video. Somewhere next video, somewhere after that. But what you do know about the Red Lanterns is that they're powered by rage. And that all they're powered by rage gives them so much power is that it can overtake them. Yes, it can overtake them. And here's what this guy has to say about the Red Lantern.
A Red Lantern also has the ability to spew this blood as a weapon. So basically a napalm. This napalm blood replaces their old blood and heart. So removing a red ring without using some very specific means will kill the host. They also have the ability to fly, and they have a protective aura that allows them to fly through space. Most recently, the human Red Lanterns have displayed the ability to make hard light constructs. The most interesting thing about the Red Lanterns is that the moment they become a Red Lantern, they become enraged to the point of mindlessness, and they do nothing but destroy everything. It takes dipping them into the red blood of their home planet for them to become normal again. Now it's time to talk about the Orange Lantern.
Yes,
and there's only one of these in existence. His name is Larf.
Now, yes, that is true. Larfleeze is the only person that's mainly part of the Orange Lantern. But there was one point Lex Luthor being used an Orange Lantern ring, but that didn't last long, and then, but yes, the Orange Lantern has two elves. One, which you can read down here, and the other is just like the others.
Due to the very nature of the light being greedy, it is typically only one user as we've seen in history. It can do all the normal things that the two previous ones.
Now, the Orange Lantern, basically enough, is called the core of avarice or greed. And yes, that is the name of what emotion represents the Orange Lantern, avarice, but we call it greed.
Mentioned can do, such as flight, protective auras, and make hard light constructs, but it has one unique ability. It can also steal the identities of anyone who crosses paths with it. Once it takes the identity, then Larfleeze can send the person out of the ring as an orange light construct. He can even maintain an entire core's worth of individuals spawned from his ring, and basically control his own entire orange light army. He can then absorb the constructs of other cores and use those constructs against them. The most interesting note about this ring is that it is a parasitic ring, though. It doesn't choose its user based on...
Yes, he said the word parasitic. And that word means parasitic. Parasitic.
Something controlled by a parasite.
Yes. Parasitic means something controlled by a parasite, which is really bad. So do not mess with...
It means it attaches itself and just like venom.
Yes, it attaches itself, and of course, which means that you do not want to mess with this one. Trust me.
Strong affiliation with the emotion. It forces the user to become the embodiment of its emotion. When Larfleeze has been separated from his ring, we can see by his reaction that he honestly wants nothing more to do with that thing. But then it takes him back over.
Oh, yes.
The yellow core is the core of fear. This core is run by Sinestro.
Now remember, Sinestro used to be a former Green Lantern, until he decided to turn evil and join his own core, which is the Yellow Lantern, or what he calls it, the Sinestro Core. It is controlled by fear. Now, what is interesting, what we've had to find out, is that the Yellow Lantern ring is actually the weakness of the Green Lanterns. And here's how it would be explained here.
A former Green Lantern who feels that things should be controlled in a militaristic nature instead of the more peace-wielding method that the Green Lanterns attempt to do. His rings can do all the normal stuff, but their core ability is the ability to create hard-light constructs based upon their target's greatest fears. For the longest time, the Yellow Lanterns were the direct enemy of the Green Lanterns due to their power of creating great fear in an enemy, which would cause the Green Lantern...
Now, their entity is called Parallax, a bug-like thing who can feed off of fear.
To then lose their willpower to continue fighting, which would then have them lose their rings. The Blue Lanterns draw on hope to fly, create barriers, and communicate amongst each other.
Yes, it is also true.
Create barriers and communicate amongst each other.
Yes.
Their rings can also create constructs, but only in the presence of a Green Lantern. When a Green Lantern is nearby, they will supercharge a Green Lantern's ring and gain the full power of their own rings. A Blue Lantern ring can also cure a Red Lantern of the napalm blood.
Yes, it can actually weaken a Red Lantern and have them not use their ring. And it can of course, you don't know, the Blue Lanterns are pretty much one of the most important ones. Well, all of them important, but he is one of the most important out of all the lanterns.
Allowing the ring to be removed, and they can absorb the light off of a Yellow Lantern, making them one of the few weaknesses of the Yellow Core. The violet light is the light of the star sapphires, the light of love. And they have the usual flight, and aura, and hard light constructs, but they also have the ability to imprison individuals until they can feel the power of love and the infectious nature of the violet light, and thus emerge as a star sapphire. They can also detect when love is in jeopardy and link the two troubled hearts together with a love tether. Their constructs do also have an interesting property, though. They can't be absorbed by an orange lantern, and they also leave a disorienting dust when destroyed. They also have the ability to teleport to their greatest love or someone else's greatest love. The problem with the violet ring, though, is that since it's at the extreme end of the spectrum, it may actually take over its user just like the Red Lantern rings will.
Yes.
This will sometimes create an insane star sapphire whose sole purpose is to avenge hurt lovers or their own lover who has shunned them. The indigo light is the last of the normal lanterns. This is the...
Now, this here is a tribe, not a core, but it's still counted as one because it's still a core. Now, the Indigo tribe has an elf that's like all the others, but it's in a different language. And I would tell you those words in English, but you have to read for yourself. I can't figure out what those words mean in English, but someone has actually helped me figure out what that means, what that oath means in English. So watch his video and figure out what that means in English.
Of compassion and is another parasitic ring. Originally created by Abin Sur as a way for the true evil criminals to atone for their actions, a member of the Indigo tribe is filled to the brim with compassion and no other emotion. Due to their lack of other emotions, they're able to channel the other emotions through their ring, gaining the power of almost every other ring. They also have the ability to teleport at will, and all normal things such as flight or protect.
Which means that the Compassion Core uses their wielders who have no compassion. No compassion at all. But compassion means that you actually have care for the person. Right? That's what compassion means. But since the Compassion Core uses wearers that have no compassion, which means when they use that ring, they have enough compassion. So yeah, another parasitic ring.
Of aura and communication. Interestingly, though, is if someone is in need of compassion but are unwilling to don the ring, it will brainwash them into being a member of the Indigo tribe. And if someone is willing to wield the ring due to their overwhelming compassion, such as Ray Palmer, they do not seem to be affected by the mind-altering properties of this ring. And this brings us to two fan favorites, the black and the white light. The Black Lanterns are an army of zombies who have been revived by black rings. Even if someone has died and come...
And their first appearance was in a comic book storyline called The Blackest Night. And it is led by Black Hand. Now, if you don't know who he was, basically he was a character who was still alive but ended up being dead until he got hold of the Black Lantern Corps, and that's how he became a part of the Black Lanterns.
Back to life, they are susceptible to the black ring. The ring will allow the wielder to regenerate all injuries, and the ring will become rooted to its wielder, making it impossible to remove by force. A black ring has no charge at first, but with every person that they kill and remove the heart of, they gain a bit of power for the entire core. They also have the basic abilities of flight and black light constructs. Black rings also actively seek out people who are strong with emotions and at the foot of death's door or are already dead. But if someone is void of emotion, they are invisible to the black ring.
That's true.
The white light is the light of life. It has the ability to revive the dead and use every other core's abilities. And I mean...
Yeah. Its main wielder is actually Kyle Rayner. He used to be a Green Lantern, but decided to join the White Lanterns.
In every core, most of its powers and abilities are still unknown and being explored by the current only White Lantern, Kyle Rayner. But it does appear to be the most powerful of all the rings, as it can use everything and go beyond them. And that is all the cores of the Green Lantern lore, and their exact powers and abilities. This Know Your Universe is actually a two-parter, though, as we will next discuss where these lights and powers came from originally. Each light is controlled by a true entity, the embodiment of the emotion.
This is the Lantern entities. Now, before I go, here's my explanation of issue 1. The Green Lantern one is, of course, a whale. This is the Yellow Lantern one. This is Parallax right here. The Red Lantern's entity is called a Busher and it's represented by a bull. This is the Orange Lantern and it's represented by a snake. The Blue Lantern entity is represented by a bird. And Purple Lantern represents some kind of cephalopod. The Star Sapphires represent an entity called a Predator. But then there's the Black Lantern, which is represented by a being called Necron, and White Lantern, which is represented by another being, and that is the entities in my reaction to the Latern Cores.
It's funny that the one that represents love is the predator. Okay, cool.
And that is it for now, and see you by the next reaction. Bye.
Hopefully that recorded correctly.